Hello and welcome to round 5 coverage of Grand Prix Montreal. Here we have Einar Baldvinsson playing Temur Marvel against Shaun McLaren, the Pro Tour champion, playing Black-Green Constrictor. As far away as you could get from his Jeskai winning deck list when he won the Pro Tour as possible.
Shaun McLaren, one of the Canadians that has really been part of the uprising of Canadian Magic over the last half-decade or so. A lone wolf, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Flying in the face of Team Magic. So he's going to open. Oh, well, look at that. A Grimflayer on turn 2. I thought that was going to be a Winding Constrictor.
As did I. I mean, it looks like he actually might be playing some version of green-black Delirium here.
So we sort through the list. Einar Baldvinsson, we saw him earlier in the tournament. He has not veered off of his plan of winning.
Yeah, he was in since round 1.
Yeah.
He's from Iceland.
Yeah, World Magic Cup captain for Team Iceland. And,
fellow dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A pair of Servant of the Conduits for him. No third land. There you get a look at Grimflayer, a 2/2 Trampler. Might seem a little odd, but he does get bigger once you have Delirium. And Shaun McLaren is going to go on the Stone Rain plan. If you want to block, I'm pretty happy here. No blocks from Baldvinsson. And Shaun gets to sort through the top 3 cards of his deck here. He can put them back in any order or put any number of them into his graveyard.
And that can really just get this deck going, because with that trigger, like that might just make his Grimflayer into a 4/4 Trampler right away. And it's also going to make a lot of the other cards in his deck more powerful in the process.
Probably requires a Verdurous Gearhulk for that to happen out of 3 cards, right? But
yeah.
Can happen.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes these decks are playing cards like Pilgrim's Eye also. I mean...
Yeah, three lands, though, there. You see him sift through.
Grimflayer, you know, it starts out slapping people with the glove. Then he switches to the axe later on.
And then Fatal Push takes down one of the servants, which is, of course, what Einar was fearful of in combat. It's a 3rd Servant of the Conduit here. And now Einar is going to go on the attack.
Einar's got a decent amount of energy, though, and... You know, we've seen how dangerous this can be.
He is holding an Aetherworks Marvel. We can see that there on top of his hand. But to deploy it right now would take some of that energy. He's definitely looking for a few more lands here. And there is Kalidas, Trader of Get. And in comes the Grimflayer. Again, no blocks. And then dig, dig, dig for Shaun. He's got 2 types in his yard right now.
And the thing that's so great about the Grimflayer here is that as long as that thing is getting into the red zone, Shaun has like such control over his draw step.
Yep. Puts 1 card back, puts 2 in the yard, including a creature. So he's now up to 3 card types, ticking towards Delirium. And now we see, yep, 2 energy from Einar to get that Aetherworks Marvel onto the board. But he's going to need to find 4 energy to make it work.
And Shaun McLaren does not have any way... Oh, no, he has 4 copies of Dissenter's Deliverance in his deck. So he could really punish Einar right now.
Wow, main deck just... I could cycle it if I'm in a zombie matchup, but if I'm playing Marvel, I can get him.
Yeah. And the thing is, even if he's playing against one of the aggressive decks that's not zombies... He can very easily just use that to kill a vehicle, and that's a great deal for him.
And there you see Dissenter's Deliverance takes out the Aetherworks Marvel. Gets an energy for Einar Baldvinsson in the process.
And that's a never to return here.
Wow. Takes out a Servant of the Conduit.
Also giving him Delirium.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he's hitting for 7 this turn.
Okay. Got the free zombie from Kalidas.
There you see another Dissenter's Deliverance. a Nissa. And is that another?
Well, I think it's a pair of Nissas.
Oh, it is a pair of Nissas. Okay. I thought maybe it was another copy of Dissenter's Deliverance there. I couldn't quite tell. And these things are looking great for Shaun McLaren here.
And Einar has, the ability to resolve another Marvel here. The problem is that
he's at 9.
He's at 9. He's just dead. And Shaun even has the Dissenter's Deliverance at the ready.
So there's an ether hub. Now he does have Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot in hand, so he can get himself to 12 here. And maybe even 15 if he needs to.
Yeah, and that's good enough to survive for a little while. And not only is that good enough to survive, but that's also good enough to set himself up for the Marvel on the following turn. So Einar, despite being seemingly blown out this game, has a very real line to victory here.
Yeah, here we go. Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. That gets him to 7 energy. And he's going to pass the turn back to Shaun. So he can untap and take a roll of a spin of the wheel.
Yeah. At this point, though, it's hard to tell whether or not the spin will be good enough. Even like hitting an Ulamog, depending on what Shaun's able to do here, because if Shaun can flood the board enough, then, if Einar's at a low enough life total,
sure,
then an Ulamog might not even be enough to get back in the game.
All right. So we start with a Nissa. Puts a counter on everything. All right, well, that's gonna be trouble.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage coming in.
And Einar's gonna waste no time. He's not blocking here. He activates the Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. So I think he's gonna end this at 3.
Yep, that's my understanding of what's going on here.
And Shaun McLaren just continues to get to sculpt his draw step.
Yeah, likely just dropping all 3 of these.
Oh, yeah, I think all 3 of those are going. He is not in the market for land here. All right, Einar gets to live one more turn here. Here is the Aetherworks Marvel. Plays a land. And he passes the turn. Oh, he's not passing the turn. Okay.
I think Shaun does have another Deliverance in hand.
And there's Ulamog.
Is this the power enough? Of this card.
Takes out the Cletus, takes out the Grimflayer. Leaves Shaun McLaren with a 3/3 zombie and a Nissa. Okay, there's the Dissenter's Deliverance. It's going to take out... Wow, takes out the Aetherworks Marvel. There you get a look at Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger.
And with the amount that Shaun McLaren has been sifting through his deck here, 2 attacks from Ulamog will be enough to deck him. So despite any amount of chump blocking here from Nissa.
And there's still a Chandra in hand here for Einar. He's got a Chandra Flamecaller.
And he can play that on the following turn and clean up whatever Shaun plays here.
All right, so there's a plant token.
This is disgusting. We're watching the power of this Temur Marvel deck in action. I mean, Shaun had everything go right for him here. And a turn being bought by Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. That was it.
And then Shaun McLaren plays the Pima Renegade. Puts a counter, so he gets a 4/4 zombie now. And a 3/3 Rishkar. Plays the last card out of his hand. Wow. So there's a tune with Ether.
Yeah, and I mean, with that Chandra Flamecaller in Einar's hand, it's going to be pretty hard for Shaun to win this game.
There is a Hissing Quagmire in play that he has to think about.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're at 3 life, even something like a Hissing Quagmire becomes a very real threat.
And here it comes, Chandra Flamecaller. This was one of the breakout cards in this deck at the Pro Tour.
Let's see how he chooses
He's
to
just
use
going to
this
just put it in his graveyard. Yep. He's just going to clear Shaun McLaren's board. He's going to lose his own Servant of the Conduit in the process, but that opens up an attack for the Ulamog.
And if he does attack with the Ulamog, he has to attack.
He has to attack Nissa.
Yeah, otherwise he's dead to the Hissing Quagmire.
Attacks Nissa and attacks the top of Shaun McLaren's library.
Yeah.
20 cards go to exile. He's going to take a look and see what's going on here.
Some Constrictors. So a Ballista here wins it for Shaun. So spin that wheel. Is it a Ballista? It is. Oh my goodness.
Jake Van Lunen with the called shot. Walking Ballista for 3. Holy cow. Shaun McLaren looked like he was in command that whole game.
Yeah.
Einar fought his way back. And then Shaun McLaren rips the Walking Ballista for exactly lethal on the last possible turn.
Absurd.
Oh my gosh. Can't wait to see the next game. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this quick break. All right, welcome back to round 5 coverage here at Grand Prix Montreal. See the players sideboarding after that tremendously swingy game there, but we're going to peek in on Oliver 2 versus Florian Koch. And this is Temur Marvel versus, shockingly, Temur Marvel.
Oh my goodness. Who would have expected it?
It definitely seems to be the deck that a lot of the more established pros and the more experienced pros have chosen for this tournament after the results from the Pro Tour.
Yeah, the Pro Tour results are in, and people have, figured out that even if this isn't the only best deck, this is certainly one of the top-tier decks, and it's the most resilient. The thing is, yes, Zombies proved itself to be very good, but you can beat Zombies if you want to. You know, the energy decks prove themselves to be really good, but you can beat those decks if you want to. Even if you're going out of your way to beat the Marvel deck, it's really hard to have an overwhelming win percentage against them, especially after sideboard. So it's a really resilient deck, and it's really powerful. Plus, it just does completely unfair things. Like, no other deck basically just wins on turn 4 out of nowhere.
And sometimes it also does very fair things, like attacks with Rogue Refiners, and is able to just win that game.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why it's so resilient, is that even if somebody does everything they can do to stop your plan A, your plan B is very reasonable.
See Florian playing a Rogue Refiner. He's up a game here in this match between the two 4-0 players. Oliver, too, of course, the Rookie of the Year and Constructed Master last year on the Pro Tour. That means he had the best constructed record across 4 Pro Tours of any player on the Pro Tour, playing in the first 4 Pro Tours of his career. It's kind of absurd.
That is absolutely absurd. Here you see him, you know, taking up a Chandra, making elemental tokens, swinging in with a pair of Rogue Refiners and a pair of elementals. Not the spot Florian wants to be in here. Yeah.
Florian has 4 Grand Prix top 8s in his career, by the way. He won Grand Prix Lyon in 2010 and has a Pro Tour top 8 Canada, too, in Vancouver 2015. Most recently top 8'd in Prague. He's a European player, you know, usually found around the European GPs, but he'll travel the globe following the magic.
Bit of a globetrotter. Yeah. He actually beat me at Pro Tour Valencia in 2007.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Been around for a long time.
Yeah.
There you see Whirler Virtuoso. Just doing some energy math here.
Trying to make sure the numbers are perfect. I mean, it's hard to imagine a world where Florian can survive this turn even. He's got 2 tokens with that Chandra coming in. I guess he, you know, conceivably survive, but...
So, cycle to Center's Deliverance. Now Oliver has to decide whether he wants to plus his Chandra here.
Which I imagine he will. I mean, with Florian at 6 here, it punishes Florian a lot. Like, even if Florian does have some way to survive this turn, then you're putting him on such a low energy count that, you know, it doesn't matter what he's able to force through on the following turn, he's still in a terrible position.
Florian is at 6, so he's going to need to block 2 of these creatures. Actually, he blocks everything. There's a tune with Ether. And Oliver, too, just keeps on trucking here.
Yeah. Now it seems like I think he even has a Marvel.
He does have a Marvel in hand, yeah. Passes the turn back to Florian. Fell to 3 in the process. So he only blocked 2 of those, let 1 of the tokens through.
That way he gets to stay at 5 energy.
Yeah.
So if he were able to draw an Ether Hub on this final turn, then he would have been able to play Aetherworks Marvel maybe with counterspell backup.
There's Negate, and that is game 2 to Oliver 2, evening up the match 1 game apiece. Meanwhile, on our main match, players are underway here. And we see a Rogue Refiner got taken out with... Is that a...
Transgress.
That is a Transgress, okay. Yeah. And now Shaun McLaren gets to traverse the Ulvenwald for a land. And there's a Winding Constrictor. It's going to Looks like it's going to eat a Harness Lightning pretty quickly.
Wisely. I mean, you don't want to let a Winding Constrictor live.
Now draws fire immediately. Tireless Tracker. Almost ubiquitous out of the sideboard for these decks. We've talked about that.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is that there are so many cards in your main deck that are weak in various matchups that it just fills up those holes. Like, you don't need a sideboard card necessarily that's good against one person or another person. You just upgrade your cards with Tireless Tracker, and it's good against everybody. And it gets better in post-boarded games where your opponent is sculpting their deck to beat your plan A because it's so counterintuitive to that plan.
So cycles Dissenter's Deliverance, finds another Winding Constrictor, and passes the turn back to Einar. Who also cycles a Dissenter's Deliverance at the end of his opponent's turn. At the cost of an energy, which is, not inconsequential.
No,
when it takes you
not.
down to 0, shuts off both your Ether hubs here. It's going to crack a clue.
Ooh, not a good draw step with that clue.
Yeah, has another Harness Lightning, takes out one more Snake, and gets in for 4 with Tireless Tracker.
And we see this all the time. These Marvel decks, they're Tireless Trackers in post-boarded games. Like, the opponent has changed their deck to such a degree to be able to beat your Aetherworks Marvel combo. Like, currently, Shaun has Dispossess in his hand, and it's just doing nothing. And he's just getting beat to death with this card advantage giant creature thing.
So cycles another Artifact Destruction spell there.
And Shaun one shy here of Delirium.
Looking for a land, maybe a Planeswalker.
Yeah, land, Planeswalker, artifact, something to go in the yard that could fix this problem for him. But no answer to this Tireless Tracker right now. It's just going to start running away with cards. He might be forced to essentially do nothing this turn with Dispossess. Well, I understand that's not actually nothing. It's pretty bad to pass the turn against a Tireless Tracker that's steadily growing. Let your opponent untap all their lands.
So he's going to make a Walking Ballista, 2/2. You get a look at Walking Ballista. This was one of the breakout cards from Kaladesh.
Yeah, incredible card. I mean, now we're seeing a ton of it in Modern even. It's just, it does so much for its casting costs, and it conveniently combos very nicely with infinite mana combos. As a creature that you can search for. And now, I mean, Einar's lands are untapped. He's got this Tireless Tracker in play. He's not playing lands.
I was going to say, he really wanted a land
card
there.
advantage there, but the other thing is that he's out of energy, and he's just on blue and red mana. So, like, this is an opening for Shaun to get back in the game.
Yep. Shaun is going to play Never to Return. And passes the turn back there. You're going to look at Never to Return to strike target creature or Planeswalker, but you have that little aftermath of exiling a card and getting a 2/2 zombie token later on in the game. Could be relevant.
Absolutely. And I mean, the thing that's nice about that is that sometimes when you get later on in the game with a deck like Black-Green Constrictor, you don't have the luxury of a lot of standard decks with playing cards like Rogue Refiner, where the gas just keeps on flowing. So it just gives you something to do with your mana later on.
So Einar puts a down payment on an Aetherworks Marvel.
Yeah.
Hoping to pay it off pretty soon.
Someday this could do real big things. And his life total's at 18. Shaun's not applying a lot of pressure.
See, again, no green mana as long as he has no energy off those 2 ether hubs. Just blue and red to work with. He is holding a confiscation coup.
Yeah, and that does give him a lot of energy. He doesn't have to use that energy if he wants to, you know, destroy essentially the walking ballista.
Traverse the Ulvenwald goes and gets a walking ballista. I mean, a Verdurous Gearhulk, which makes that walking ballista a little more scary than it was a few minutes ago.
Oh, absolutely. I believe confiscation coup does target also, so it's if he does try to use it, he's just going to be destroying the ballista. He won't get the energy.
Oh, of course.
Because it'll get countered.
So 6 comes in to Einar.
But he's got a handful of uncastable spells here.
Yeah, he shows him his hand. Shaun McLaren wins the match, goes to 5-0 here at Grand Prix Montreal, the Canadian Pro Tour champion.
Sweet
Off
deck.
to a great start, yeah. Playing green-black Constrictor, making it look good.
Well, game 1, that
was pretty.
Yeah, you got to draw that walking ballista there.
That was pretty crazy.
That was awesome.
Yeah, Einar had to have felt like, oh man, I navigated this perfectly. And then, yeah, the top decked walking ballista with his opponent at 3, and everything just lined up perfectly for Shaun McLaren. So now we're going to pick things up here in the middle of game 3 between Allegrucci and Florian Koch, and tireless trackers all over the place.
Yeah, standard as is meant to be played. Oliver does have tireless tracker advantage right now.
And clue advantage.
Florian was on the play this game, though, and that definitely makes a big difference.
Does have a Evolving Wilds, it looks like, in hand, which can catch him up on clues.
Yeah, that'll get him a pair of clues, and not only that'll get him a pair of clues, but it will also you know, allow him to fix his mana a little more. You don't want to run into the problem that we just saw Einar run into in the last game. So he has this Harness Lightning also. You might want to fire that off this turn.
Yeah, sacrifices a clue. Gets one back. Harness Lightning takes out one of the tireless trackers. And rumbles in for 7 here, dropping Oliver to 10. Huge swing.
And Oliver looks to have a hand that's just cluttered with counter magic. So Florian playing this really well, just picking his spots, knowing Oliver's tapped out right now. I'm going to use all of my mana, be as aggressive as I can be here. And in doing so, he forces Oliver to use a lot of mana on his turn because he needs to keep up on board.
So you see 2 clues in play. A couple of negates, a dispel, it looks like, in hand.
Yeah, I mean, he might have double negate, double dispel right now.
Wow. Which is not going to do you a lot of good if your opponent is not playing into those things. But here we see another Harness Lightning from Florian. Maybe that turns on one of the cards in Oliver's hand here.
And I imagine it will. It seems unlikely that...
So Evolving Wilds, gets a clue, sacrifice it, go get another clue.
And I mean, he has the mana now to sacrifice 2 clues, which would still have the tireless trackers trading. Also worth noting that Florian, while he has this Harness Lightning in hand, that can be countered by any number of these cards in Oliver's hand. He also has a Whirler Virtuoso, though, and if he's willing to play around what Oliver might have access to.
Well, he's going to show him the Harness Lightning, and that's going to draw a Dispel. Wait, yep. It is going to draw a Dispel from Oliver. And in comes the Tireless Tracker. Yep, and both players content to let them trade. No need to tap any more mana here. Oliver will get that clue at the end of the turn. Oliver very close to getting a Marvel off here. He has one in hand.
Yeah, he has one in hand, and he has a lot of counterspell to back it up also.
Not under any imminent threat from Florian's board. I mean, you know, he's got to worry about that Rogue Refiner.
Yeah, that's still another 4 turns before to kill him, though. So, right, he looks really good.
Goes up to 5 energy. Florian digs for a card at the end of the turn. There's Chandra.
And that'll change the math a little bit.
But Chandra's just going to run itself into a negate here.
Yeah, and that's the problem here, is that if Florian goes for a big play like Chandra, he's basically handing Oliver the game, because Oliver then gets to untap, Florian will be tapped out, Oliver gets to negate the Chandra, and then Oliver gets to, you know, have access to Aetherworks Marvel, and then he'll just sacrifice the clue, have 6 energy, and crazy things start to happen.
So Oliver chooses not to block the Rogue Refiner. Florian can just play another Rogue Refiner, I believe, and a Whirler Virtuoso this turn. And not have to play into that negate at all.
And if he does so, he's going to be at 9 energies, and that's a lot of Thopters.
Here's the Whirler Virtuoso. It's like, does that resolve? Yeah, nope, I don't have Essence Scatter. And, yeah, Florian's content to pass turn, wants to leave some mana open. Cycle Dissenter's Deliverance at the end of the turn for Oliver. Crack a clue. There's another Aetherworks Marvel.
And now he's got to go for it. I mean, he has Negate and Dispel back up. Ooh.
Ceremonious Rejection.
Ceremonious Rejection's a nice one, but it's not going to be good enough here when you take a look at Oliver's hand. He's just got more counter magic than one could ever have hoped for. Oliver doesn't have the 6 energy necessary, though, to spin that Marvel, so...
So Florian sacrifices a clue. He's digging now. Is he close enough that he can start thinking about making some Thopters and pecking away?
I think that's what he's thinking about right now, because, you know, if he makes these Thopters and then he casts the Chandra, that's a lot of damage. A lot of damage. And it may even be enough to win the game. So I'm sure he's done the math.
He's got Oliver tapped out, or almost tapped out. There's still a Servant of the Conduit that can pay for something like a Dispel if need be. Here's Chandra. Immediately +1s.
And Oliver maybe making a big misstep here, not using Dispel on the Ceremonious Rejection instead of using Negate. By doing so, he, left himself open to this Chandra.
Wow.
And it's a lot of damage coming in.
And everything attacks. The most Oliver can prevent here is 3, and he extends the hand. Florian Koch goes to 5-0 here at Grand Prix Montreal, just past the halfway point on day 1. Oliver, too, picks up his first loss and falls to 4-1.
Impressive stuff there. Florian, a super tight player, loves to play these really long, grindy games.
Wow. All right. Well, we've got a little bit more round 5 action for you coming up right after this.